Here's the jump. A little better. If I'd have slowed up, got the net, never would have caught it.
That was a cool bite. There we go. That's what we're looking for. Oh yeah, one more and we got a game.
That'll help. Woo! Bring it on!
You're looking out over the jewel of Kentucky, Lake Cumberland, and home for the 4th stop of the 2018 FLW Tour. Welcome everyone, I'm Travis Moran alongside Rob Newell. Rob, Lake Cumberland, only about the 1/3 of the size of its sister lake, Kentucky Lake, but with plenty of shoreline, with so many different coves and so many different arms of this lake, you really do have a lot of fishable water for these anglers.
This thing's hundreds and hundreds of miles long. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And this year there's even more water than there was last year because the water's come up 9, 10, 11 feet. It's 3 or 4 feet over pool. A lot more water for these guys to work with. And with all that water, a lot of stain, a lot of color in the water. This is just completely a different lake than it was last year.
The fish are biting, and there's somebody will catch a 20-pound bag today, and that's gonna be the big difference maker. If you can get anything over 17 here, that's big. But I have a sneaky suspicion somebody probably busts 20, then they're gonna be hard to chase down.
One of the things the guys really love about this lake is the diversity of it. The size of it combined with the diversity, largemouth, spotted bass, smallmouth, it's a vast pattern lake. They can pick up one species, one kind of watercolor, and run it a long way down one of these lakes. So, you know, in this thing, probably spotted bass are out, but it's gonna be a smallmouth, largemouth war.
I've been catching smallmouth of late, 10 smallmouth in, and that's what I'm gonna try to do again today. I'm gonna go down the lake and fish my way back up. I'm targeting them with a 3-inch Demiki armor shad and another 4-inch swim bait and a spinner bait. So I'm gonna go throw those 3 baits all day and see where we wind up.
With so many different species to target, there's also going to be a lot more fish actually brought to the scales this year. Last year, there was different size limits according to the species. Spotted bass was 12 inches, largemouth 15 inches, and smallmouth 18-inch limit. So it really played into a different strategy last year, but this year it's going to be a little bit different.
Yeah, making it 12 inches across the board for every species, that's really gonna open the door for the smallmouth guys because they saw what this lake had in it last year smallmouth-wise. They had to release a lot of fish under 18 inches. They know what lives here, and I'm betting that they're all gonna end up down at the south end of that lake where those smallmouth live.
That's a long way, down and back.
And these strategies have played out over the first 2 days, and it is day 3. We made our weekend cut down to our top 30, and these 30 anglers are gonna battle it out to see who makes the final cut and moves on with the top 10 into the 4th and final day. Let's head out of the water and see these guys off.
Headed down lower third of the lake. We'll be starting out somewhere around Difficulty Creek this morning. See how that goes, and we're gonna run a lot of stuff out on the main lake down the lower end today.
This is as standard springtime as you get right here. Spinner baiting down the bank when they start moving up to spawn like they are. There's really no better way to catch them if you've got the conditions. Wind, a little bit of dinged up water, and springtime equals big spinner bait.
When I left the house to come to Cumberland, I knew the water was 5 feet high. I knew it was up in the woods. And I've had a terrible year. I actually started last year at the championship. Done terrible there. First 3 events this year, I got a check at Harris Chain. Didn't even deserve that one, just a total luck deal, but I did get a check. Coming here, I'm like, you know, if I'm gonna get my swerve back, it's gonna be at Cumberland. This is my chance. It's flooded, it's springtime, it's gonna be a flip and spinner bait deal. For me, at least, I'll have the opportunity to do that. That's all I'm gonna do. So it's almost like I didn't have anything to lose.
Didn't take long, did it? Uno, not as big as we need, but we'll take him.
Lake Cumberland, day 3. top 5 here: Andy Morgan, Daryl Robertson, Clint Davis, Brian Thrift, Kerry Milner. Rob, who do you like on this leaderboard?
I like old D-Rob, Daryl Robertson. Good to see his name back in there. You're going to see some old schoolers back in the lineup here. It's a classic pattern lake. These guys, Andy Morgan, like you said, an OG, Daryl Robertson, they are both fishing just classic back of the creek type patterns. David Dudley had a rally yesterday, got back in the top 30. Good to see Brian Latimer making, I think, his first 30 cut. Scott Martin, you know, snuck in there. Oklahoman's Zach Bird just fits his fishing style just as well.
And Andy Morgan's really turned around his season so far. Had a rough start in the first couple of tournaments, but a guy that literally he knows his foundation, and one of those being spinnerbaits. Great for him that this is turning out to be a spinnerbait tournament, and lo and behold, he's in the #1 spot right now.
And a lot of people probably think, a lot of folks that know Andy Morgan, know how he likes to fish, probably think he ran away up a river somewhere. That is kind of his standard MO, but this particular event, he played some trickeration, went all the way to the south end.
Fat largemouth.
And is working the backs of places all the way at the lower end of the lake.
Good little chunk.
Kerry Milner, a BFL All-American, had a slow start day 1, but really is riding a lot of momentum from nearly 18 pounds yesterday.
Yeah, it looks like the good old spinnerbait is working for Kerry Milner as well.
Yesterday, every fish I caught, weighed in with a spinnerbait. And I probably won't pull anything else out today. Do or die.
I kind of got on that pattern in practice a little bit one of the days, and just watching the weather and the wind predictions, the main thing, it made me think that way to be preparing myself for that. And the watercolor too this year was a lot more color in the water, so I'm like, these fish, they're gonna be coming up the hill, spinnerbait, water, wind, perfect scenario. So I kind of practiced looking for that kind of water, and that's what I've been running, strictly a spinnerbait pattern.
Last year, Milner finished a whopping 123rd in this tournament. So this is quite an improvement for him this year.
Redemption.
Yep.
He hit it like a freight train.
I'm almost thinking that water's warmed up enough to, got better check the back of these pockets because there's liable to be something back in them.
Jay Oklahoma's pride and joy, Daryl Robertson, also going old school, Rob, with that spinnerbait bite.
Yeah, Daryl being from Oklahoma, he might be on Cumberland right now, but in his head, he's on Grand Lake, Oklahoma, where he learned how to fish like this.
I rigged up a spinnerbait with a pretty good sized Colorado blade and a pretty good sized swim bait on it, you know, so that it would be pretty visible because the water was pretty dingy everywhere where I was finding the fish in the creeks. And another thing, that a lot of these fish was in cover that's 10, 15 foot deep. And almost every fish I've caught, I can see them bite spinnerbait.
He said it's been easy. He said getting the first 11 or 12 pounds has just been very easy. He can get it by 11 at 10 or 11 a.m. He can catch a limit. For folks from Oklahoma and that fish Grand, if you want to know what he's doing, he said it is textbook Grand Lake spinnerbait fishing when the water comes up there.
No one enjoys fishing a pattern lake more than Andy Morgan, and he's really getting some things dialed in with that spinnerbait right now, Rob.
The revival of the spinnerbait. The chatterbait came along about 10 years ago, kind of kicked the spinnerbait to the curb, and we haven't seen much of it in tournament fishing in the last few years. But actually this entire spring, some of the tournaments, the spinnerbait is showing itself again, and this derby here is no exception. The chatterbait might have to take the week off. I mean,
I lost 3 up this section yesterday. Pretty good ones too. Fast one. Oh, the brown one. That's 5, but that ain't nothing like wanting to catch right there.
Andy Morgan has his limit, but not the size he's going to need to hold off the best anglers in the country. We'll see if he can get some upgrades when we return.
The FLW Tour is brought to you by General Tire. Anywhere is possible. Costa Del Mar. See what's out there. Yeti, built for the wild. TH Marine, from transom to trolling motor. Power Pole, swift, silent, secure. And by BRP Evinrude. Learn more at evinrude.com.
Come here, Mr. Smallmouth. I just caught my third one on a little swim bait.
I knew there had to be one fish along here somewhere.
Caught one. Ain't much of one.
It's the FLW Tour on Lake Cumberland, presented by General Tire. And Cumberland is living up to its reputation as one of the most consistent and versatile fisheries in the country. And our top 30 anglers are spread out all over the place in search of a quality bite.
Alan Boyd having a good tournament there. D-Rob hanging in there. Zach Burge making a move today.
No stranger to making cuts, one of the most consistent anglers on tour, Brian Thrift. But one of the things that we see Brian do a lot is move around, cover a lot of water. But his plan so far that he's led on is that he plans on staying in one central location.
We gotta try to catch a couple good ones, but at least they're biting. I was kind of worried today because I caught so many in this area the last 2 days that maybe I was kind of running out, but there still seems to be some here. We just got to try to find some of those 3.5 to 4 pounders.
This isn't exactly Brian Thrift that we normally see right here. He's told me that to maximize his efficiency on a lake this big, instead of running around burning a lot of time, the best plan is to kind of stay put in one little centralized location, 3 or 4 places within 3 or 4 miles of each other. Make the most of your time.
Oh, that's a decent one.
I'm guessing smallmouth, that's what he's totally been targeting. He feels like that's the pathway to victory here. Let's see what we end up with. Yes, sir. Nice one.
Throwing a little swim bait. Brian Thrift always going to change up until he connects with those fish.
You have to get bigger than that, too. At least we're getting bit now.
He purposely is keeping all of his fishing contained on this lake to one creek.
All about strategies. Speaking of strategies, let's go to General Tire's Roadmap to Victory.
All right, so number one, maximizing fishing efficiency, and that is everything from your casting around these close targets, keeping your lure clean. Dudley made a great point. This lake will eat you up in terms of time. It's so big, keeping your area, your pattern you're trying to run somewhat within a single area is huge in terms of saving time. Number two, kicking out the spots. No spotted bass this time. You either need to have largemouth, smallmouth, or a mix of the two. Those are the game-winning fish. And this front we got coming, outflank the front. This is the kind of the transition day. Things are going to be very different tomorrow. You're going to have to recalibrate and figure out how this front is going to reposition these fish, if at all, stay in front of the front.
I don't know, man. They're not committing. They're funky. I know they're going on bed, trying to bed. And as bad as I want to change up, something tells me to keep running, and it's going to work out before the end of the day.
Clint Davis getting off to a nice start after a little bit of a rocky first few tournaments. But this 2012 Rookie of the Year is looking like he's in a bit of a groove, Rob.
Things have been improving for Clint here the latter part of the season, and here on Cumberland, he's kind of dialed in fishing these main lake points with a pretty sizable swim bait.
It's been a grind. I've ran a lot of old water early. You know, I've probably had 15 bites today. They're just pushing at it, which is what I was scared of. I mean, I think a lot more on bed now, and you want to try to slow down and throw something up there and get them to bite it when they're pushing at it, but I haven't had any luck with that either. It's either a reaction bite, even if they're laying on bed up there, or nothing. So we'll grind through it. I mean, hopefully it gets better here in the next couple hours. That's a grown one. The water's dropping, and in practice, I kept seeing fish under the boat, out in front of where I'm, or just under the boat instead of on the bank where I've been fishing at. And finally, I backed way off with a swim bait and caught a couple, and that's why I'm doing it. You know, fish get real funny and want to get off the bank when the water's dropping, and you know, for the most part, that's what they're doing this week, is floating out off these points and walls. Give me 4 more of those. We'll be all right.
I'm looking for the flatter type creeks. No, I say creeks, I mean pockets. This lake has got pockets and creeks all over it. I mean, millions of them. And so I'm looking for the ones that go back and flatten out a little bit instead of just go back and they're bluffy. You know, a lot of them have really pretty waterfalls in them, and you go to the back and you're still in 30 feet of water. So I'm looking for the ones that flatten out.
And how about two-time TBF national champion Alan Boyd, recipient of the Living the Dream package, which has enabled him to fish the FLW Tour, really getting things going quick, getting over that hump and pushing that 15-pound limit real quick.
Yeah, Travis, that's really the difference on this lake. If you can get out of that 14 to 15 pound range and move into that 17 to 18 pound range, that's how you move up through the leaderboard.
It was a really, really awesome bite. Kind of slow rolling a spinnerbait, but keeping it up high, and just, you get to watch them eat it, and it's fun.
Now, how unusual is this for Brian Thrift not to be moving? I mean, it's with a lake that you can run a pattern so much and so many options to dial things in. Brian Thrift really choosing to not move at all.
Rob New will be proud of me. I hadn't started the boat since I cut it off this morning.
I think what it is the scope of this lake is so ginormous, it even challenges Brian to fish it from the river to the dam with 50 spots, because so many of these spots that you want to fish are way back in these creeks. When it starts becoming where you got to run 5 or 6 miles back in a creek and then run all the way back out and then run 13 miles back into another creek and back out, it loses its effectiveness. You're better off staying put.
Got you.
The new size limit for all the species is benefiting Brian Thrift, who's put together a quality limit of smallmouth in his live well. Can Andy Morgan answer with a big largemouth of his own? Stay tuned. More FLW action from Lake Cumberland presented by General Tire when we come back.
I think that'll help me. I better look just to make sure.
I've seen about 4 or 5 of them fish like that one.
I think I've got enough to get me in the top 10 cut.
Storm's bearing down. They've got to be biting.
Welcome back, day 3, the 4th stop of the 2018 FLW Tour. The rain has moved in on Lake Cumberland, and it's triggered a bite for just about everyone. Two-time TBF national champion Alan Boyd has been on a tear today and is making a strong case to be in contention for a tour victory.
With the wind blowing, I thought the smallmouth were really going to play. I thought guys were really going to catch them, but I didn't catch them in practice. I spent a lot of time trying to find a smallmouth, and so I couldn't do it. I just resorted to fishing what I know, you know. I'm just fishing like I would at home. I'm running shallow pockets and throwing a spinnerbait, just covering water.
Alan Boyd has sandwiched himself squarely between Brian Thrift and Andy Morgan in second place unofficially. 105th at Lanier does not set well with Andy Morgan. He said, if I'd have just stuck to what I do, I know I would have got a check at Lanier. But I started chasing another guy's game, and he knows that's the cardinal sin. You can't do that. And he said, when I get to Cumberland, I will fish the way Andy Morgan fishes.
Pulled it over that limb, she came out and got half the bait.
God. When they changed that limit where you could weigh in short largemouth, short smallmouth, and the Kentuckys are still 12 inches, but I'm like, man, that's gonna take away my advantage of being, you know, guy up here in the woods fishing for largemouth. But I mean, it's still kind of worked out. The smallmouth didn't show up as good as I thought they would. They're starting to, they started today. Cloud day, windy, nasty, rainy, stormy, that's when those smallmouth bite, and I'm afraid that's what's gonna happen tomorrow also.
A little better. I think our hook fell out. If I'd have slowed up, got the net, never would have caught it. Finally went out of the back of a pocket.
We've got some veterans in the top 5, but also fairly newcomer Clint Davis with some great acclimates already to his career, including 2012 Rookie of the Year on the FLW Tour.
I'm fishing Lake Cumberland. I mean, I am fishing Lake Cumberland. I'm running down the lake. Hey, that point looks good. That point looks good. That little pocket looks good. That's, you know, it's just by the seat of my pants. It's the first time being here, and so it's whatever looks good, I'm fishing on this lake. Hey, I'm pretty excited about this because I got confidence in a lot of this stuff right down there. I hadn't fished it, I pre-practiced it, I cranked it. God, that's a giant, dude.
He's been catching suspended smallmouth that are kind of getting ready to spawn. And he said, I'm afraid if they go on bed, they'll get on the bottom, and I don't want to fish that slow.
No, it's not. It's a rat, but it's a coal. Get over here. That's a huge coal.
Clint Davis throwing some bigger swim baits. A lot of guys throwing those smaller ones. He's got a bigger swim bait.
That's still 2 1/4, 2 1/2.
This guy needs absolutely no introduction.
Nope.
Brian Thrifts.
Brian's fishing, that is predominantly a smallmouth deal right there. I guarantee it's really, really deep right there. That off that ledge rock, probably 30 or 40 feet, falls out to. The smallmouth just have a affinity for that little swim bait. That's one of those things that's hard to describe. That one might be a good one there.
This is setting up to be a nice finish today because Thrift doing his damage with the smallmouth right now. He's obviously going to look to just keep calling up. You know, Thrift is making his moves, but Andy Morgan, I think, has still got a lot of damage left to do here in the day.
Everything in the boat over 3 right now, right? Wow, this is going to get interesting to see if the brown fish or the largemouth take it.
Brian Thrift's been having this kind of day all day.
Yeah.
And he mentioned earlier, he has not turned on his big motor since his initial run this morning.
This is what every one of his catches has looked just like that. Thunk.
I'm wearing a smallmouth.
A swim bait choked by a smallmouth.
That's the one we're looking for right there. That's a little better right there.
Yeah, we really haven't seen that swim bait too much. It's just the head of the swim bait is all we end up seeing every time.
I think a 3-4 is my smallest one right now.
Day 3 brought afternoon rains and a late flurry out of Brian Thrift.
Yeah, Travis, it was like Brian made it rain smallmouth in that boat for a few minutes there. So let's see who survived this storm.
We're going to find out who moves on to the 4th and final day and throw it over to Chris Jones to weigh these fish in.
This is the road to the Mecca of all championships, the road to the Forest Wood Cup. 15 pounds, 4 ounces, his 4th cut in a row. 16 pounds, 11 ounces, Greg Bohannon. 18 pounds and 11 ounces. He's already got a win this year. Chris Johnston, 17 pounds and 1 ounce. Alan Boyd, defending TBF national champion. 19 pounds, 9 ounces. Can your fishing hold up one more day?
It's getting better every day. They're coming, so.
No one in this sport has been to the Forest Wood Cup more than Andy Morgan. 16 pounds and 6 ounces.
I've caught them on 3 different patterns 3 days in a row, and I don't know if they'll settle down, you know, and kind of, you know, do the same deal that they've done the last 3 days tomorrow or not. But it's going to be a one-day shootout. That's what I was wanting. You know, I was wanting to be close to where I'd have a shot to win at the, you know, at the end of this deal.
Defending FLW Tour Angler of the Year, Brian Thrift, new leader. 18 pounds and 11 ounces.
I'm catching all smallmouth. I weighed 15 smallmouth in, and that's what I'm going to try to do tomorrow. And hopefully they bite again. I caught a lot of them today, but we're going to see.
Our Evinrude big mover, Chris Johnston. We've seen a lot from him this year, man. The guy is just sticking around, making Canada proud.
He moved up 7 places the last couple days, but I think he came from like 71st place after the first day. He's also down there playing around in the lower end of the lake, picking on some of those largemouth pockets down there as well.
Which one is he going to play out? Is it going to be a bag of largemouth? Is it going to be the guys targeting those the shallow largemouth, or is it going to be the Thrifts? You know, some of the other guys targeting those smallies with the swim baits and things.
I'm just real scared of what Thrift is doing. It looks very consistent. It looks very bulletproof. We have some big condition changes coming tomorrow in those sensitive, fragile places back there where Andy Morgan is fishing. Those things are prone to blow out, get a lot of cold water. You can feel kind of the Thrift, you know, kind of tightening up on your throat a little bit. So that's my pick.
it's going to be rainy and cloudy and windy, and that's perfect, you know, on a clear water lake. You know, I grew up in the Ozarks, and this fish is a lot like that, so I think we'll see a bunch of weight today.
If we're not mudded up, I think the weather's really going to help the bite for what I'm doing.
The final day of the FLW Tour on Lake Cumberland is starting under some tough conditions. Rain and dropping temperatures will test these top 10 anglers out on the water today.
Yeah, right now all eyes are on the marquee matchup of the reigning Pennzoil Marine Angler of the Year, Brian Thrift, versus one of the greatest tournament fishermen of all time, Andy Morgan.
There's a big day to be had largemouth fish, and I know Boyd had a little over 19 yesterday, and I believe all of those were largemouth. Thrift had 18, and all those were smallmouth. I think the largemouth outweigh the smallmouth just a little bit, but I think the potential for a really, really good bag is better for largemouth.
Brian Thrift starting the day in number 1, Andy Morgan starting in 2. If you were to make up a Hollywood ending to this day 4 thing, you wouldn't dare put these two together because that would not be believable. They can just go head to head in the final day.
They're great friends. I remember when they were going head to head AOY, Andy let Brian stay at his house, you know, kind of inviting the enemy over. And then there's been so many tournaments throughout FLW's history where these two have ended up in the top 5, dueling it out. One of those guys today might add another tour win to their win column.
The water running in could possibly play a little today. And you can see it's not pouring in, but there is a trickle.
Rob, do you think Andy Morgan's going to make any adjustments?
Travis, one thing that Andy Morgan is acutely aware of is these fish are due for a change. They've been doing the same thing for the last several days. Some kind of adjustment is going to be made. These fish are going to zig, and Andy wants to make sure that he zigs with them.
Rob, you're totally right. When you start the day only 7 ounces behind Brian Thrift, you've already given him a little bit of a lead. You don't want to pass up any other little details.
Not good, not good at all.
Getting off to a quick start, but Morgan has really talked about the bigger fish coming later in the day for him. We got the battle of the Angler of the Year winners, Brian Thrift and Andy Morgan. So what better person to join us in the studio today and talk a little bit more detail than 3-time Angler of the Year winner, Clark Winlett. Clark, thanks for coming in today.
Well, thanks for having me. You know, I look forward to breaking this down between Andy, Brian, I mean, smallmouth, largemouth, back of creeks, more on the main lake. You know, one thing about it is that in tournament fishing, probably Brian Thrift, the most efficient tournament fisherman that's ever fished. We talked about that. Andy Morgan, probably the best tournament fisherman that's ever fished. And so you got them going head to head. Their stats are pretty similar. It's going to be fun to watch.
And how about Brian Thrift starting in the same area, but he picked up something different to start the morning?
Yeah, Travis, I think what happened there is after that day 3 weigh-in where all the guys got up and talked about that awesome spinnerbait bite, Brian kind of felt left out. He didn't get invited to that party, and he's going to make sure he gets invited to the spinnerbait party today.
My little swim bait hadn't been working, so I come back in a pocket in the area I've been fishing and started throwing a spinnerbait around, and maybe if I get to limit it, it'll calm me down enough to fish a little slower and a little more thorough.
If you look at the water Brian Thrift is fishing, it's different than everybody else's water. It's more smallmouth oriented.
Okay.
Those other guys are fishing the farther back in these creeks. The places Brian's fishing it's got just like a little cut or just a little small dead end, not very big at all. And he stays out a lot more.
Little ones are biting today. We've got a spot in the largemouth and smallmouth.
I think he does have a slam now, for real.
He weighed the biggest bag of the tournament on day 3. Alan Boyd is feeling very comfortable right now with the spinnerbait in his hand.
Yeah, 1 TBF national championship is one thing, but 2 TBF national championships, Alan Boyd definitely knows how to get it done out here.
I think some fish are spawning, but they're in that mode to where a lot of times they're not really hitting your bait to eat it. I think they're just hitting it out of anger, I guess, you know, to move it. And so I had some fish today. I don't think they were really trying to eat the bait. I think they were just trying to push the bait.
When I'm throwing this spinnerbait, I'm always anticipating that big one to roll on. Every cast, you got to visualize that bite.
I like what Alan Boyd's fishing. And when I contrast what Alan Boyd's fishing with something like what Andy Morgan's fishing, and I've kind of seen on the map where they are, Andy's having to run in these little pockets, and the last little bit of those pockets is kind of where he's keying on. Alan is in a creek that has endless targets, and I do believe he could continue to go back and forth in there and continue to get bites.
Things are really starting to heat up. Alan Boyd really making some stuff happen. Brian Thrift targeted those smallies. We're gonna have a lot more fishing action coming up here at Lake Cumberland, presented by General Tire for our 4th stop of the 2018 FLW Tour. We will be right back.
Get in there! Not a monster, but better than what I got.
Yep, that'll help. Woo! Bring it on!
With that catch right there, Greg Bohannon's trying to put that final piece together and figure out what the pattern is going to be for this final day. It's the 4th and final day of this FLW Tour event presented by General Tire. Rain has been non-stop, but that hasn't stopped Brian Thrift, who's starting to dial into the smallmouth bite he's been working on all week.
The wind laid down, and I finally laid the spinnerbait down and got back to throwing my swim bait, and I've caught 2 or 3 little ones and caught one just a minute ago that helped, but still under 3-pounder. They weighed 214. We gotta get some heavy 3s. We need some 3.5s.
Brian Thrift, he went up shallow through the blade this morning with the rest of the gang, but now he's getting back to what you predicted is the winning bite here, is going for these smallies.
That little swim bait on a 1/4 ounce head, it's 2.5 to 3 inches. I mean, it's been kind of a hot deal here in fishing lately.
He's figured out the exact bait, the exact way to catch them. You know, he's reeling a swim bait right down on the bottom. Whether he's catching spawning fish or not, we don't know, but he's getting his bait right down there where they are. I never figured it out. I threw a crankbait, I threw a spinnerbait, and I threw a jerkbait. A lot of the same baits I threw last year, but I didn't figure it out. Those fish are fickle. He's got it dialed in. They're fighting a big smallmouth here, it looks like. And, you know, it's interesting, when he's fighting these fish, he's not real anxious about them. They're hooked well, and all he's got to do is let them fight out. He's got them on 8-pound test. You know, he's just taking his time, going to get them up there and scoop them up.
Come here, Mr. Smallmouth. I got one. 312.
Unofficially though, Thrift still got a nice 4-pound cushion.
Alan Boyd, 2-time TBF national champion, trying to be the reigning Pennzoil Marine Angler of the Year right now.
I haven't watched Boyd fish very much, but one thing I can tell you, and I'm sure you'd probably agree, he's thrown a spinnerbait or time or two in his life.
Yeah, it doesn't take much for him to make a little bitty pitch roll cast of this. I actually fished in there in practice and actually caught some fish in there, but I never fished it in the tournament. I know where he's fishing, I know what it looks like, places a bass can hide in all this water. As it goes back and winds its way and there's little pockets and creeks and stuff off the side, it just goes forever.
When I'm throwing this spinnerbait, I'm always anticipating that big one to roll on it. Every cast, you gotta visualize that bite. I think they're gonna eat. I think them big fish are gonna go today. I really do. I just got this feeling that they're gonna eat.
Oh man.
Right at the boat, wow. That sucker's still hot too. Oof.
Look at the size of that.
Come here, come here.
Oof.
He needs a longer arm, there we go.
Those short strikers make you nervous, don't they?
Until you get to touch them.
Speaking of those largemouth guys in the back of pockets, Andy Morgan.
Andy what he's doing is he's been throwing spinnerbait, but he picks up that jig pretty much every pocket he goes in, and the stuff that looks the best to him for flipping, he's gonna make some flips. To me, he's just keeping those fish honest. He may be struggling right now as far as his size goes. He's thinking in the back of his mind some of these bigger ones maybe are starting to lock down. I'm really not sure, but it seems like he would throw a spinnerbait more than he has, not flipped quite as much.
You gotta have a clue before you can sit down on something, you know? I've seen it go like this a few times in April when, even in nasty weather, they'll just start locking down on wood and cover. Now, if there's one around, he'll come look at it.
Alan Boyd and Brian Thrift have been able to create separation from the rest of the field, but Andy Morgan and the rest of the top 10 are heading into their best fishing time. Stay tuned for more action from the FLW Tour at Lake Cumberland, presented by General Tire.
The FLW Tour is brought to you by Lowrance HDS Carbon. Find, navigate, dominate with Lowrance. Real Tree Fishing, the official pattern of FLW. Bass Pro Shops, your adventure starts here. Ranger Boats, still building legends, one at a time. Polaris, the world leader in off-road vehicles. And by Mercury Marine, go boldly.
$2.14.
Oh no, it's smallmouth. And he felt big when he hit.
Yesterday, that fish rolled on me and I missed her. She almost missed it again, but she got it.
Well, it was one, chased that jig up for right there. I think it was very big.
I can tell you, as far as spinning out and things going wrong, 2 years ago, I would have been out of this tournament yesterday because at 12 o'clock, I would have been with 2 little fish and it would have been over with for me.
I don't think you call.
It's just a mental deal. You just got to believe in what you're doing and keep pushing it till the end.
No, they gotta grow.
Welcome back to the final day of the 4th stop of the 2018 FLW Tour at Lake Cumberland, presented by General Tire. Alan Boyd's limit has him in contention for a win, something that would fulfill the promise of his Living the Dream prize package from his TBF National Championship win.
Fortunate enough to win the Living the Dream package in 2011, which got me a spot in 2012 to fish the tour. And you know, financially, it's hard to do if you're going to try to do it out of your pocket, and I couldn't handle that, so my only shot was to get back through the Federation. Somehow I was blessed enough to go to Table Rock Lake and fish the national championship and win it again. Matter of fact, doing a lot of the same stuff we're doing right here, but it's an unbelievable experience. It truly is. You know, a lot of guys watching back home, I know they want to be out here doing the same thing. You know, a lot of us just got this drive and they all want to do it. And I mean, the Federation's a great outlet to do that. Really, the ultimate goal is to continue doing this. And a couple bites away from that opportunity right there.
Digging.
Bigger one.
When you look at it, Rob, you know, you got to like his chances, though. He's got water that's not being affected. He's got tons of confidence. You know, he only needs a couple more really good bites, and he's got a shot.
We watched Brian Thrift later in the day yesterday. What do we think? He threw back like 15 pounds of fish?
Oh, I couldn't believe it. It was amazing.
I mean, he just absolutely smoked him. And if he finds another flurry like that, it could be Brian Thrift's day, and he could be adding another win to his resume.
Mid-morning, I had a decent limit, probably 15, 16 pounds. And that kind of calmed me down enough to slow down and fish a little more thorough. You fish better when you've got a good limit.
This one's gonna be close to helping.
Overall, I feel good. I mean, I've got a chance. That's the best you can ask for going into the last day, is you want to have a chance. He's fat. I don't know if he's gonna help. I feel like I've got a chance, you know. If I get beat, it's because they beat me. I didn't beat myself, and I can live with that.
311.
Oh, we need a big and bad.
Clark, obviously you don't really know what's going through Andy Morgan's head, but he has a small limit. He's not having a great day by any means. Should he really start trying to think outside the box with things?
I have to go with him. You know, yesterday what happened to him, at the end of the day, he has a flurry, comes in with 16.5 pounds. And so my thinking is that these guys are thinking the afternoon's going to work. Same thing happened to me last year in the tournament. On the third day, I caught all my big smallmouth in the last 2 hours. We get to that point, and I had to just go with the fact that, you know, it happened late yesterday. I got to hope it happens late today.
I don't know what the deal was, if it was area or what I had going on, but slow for me. And when I did catch them, they were small. And that continued over and over and over and over.
We went through and caught quite a few to not have a decent one. Dang, can't make up no friggin' ground.
Don't go anywhere, guys. A lot more action left in just a second.
Toward the end of the day, I got a decent limit. I know I need one big one. I don't have any big ones, and I want to win this tournament bad. You know, I haven't made a top 10 all year. This is my first top 10, and I want to win. I finally hook into a big one. So the biggest smallmouth I've caught all week, I caught in the last hour and a half. It's close to 5-pounder. There we go. I hope it's enough. I feel like I needed one more good one, but we're fixing to see. Oh yeah, one more and we got a game. A pretty good game.
Be a good one. Decent. I did catch him by the trailer hook. If he's even bigger or not.
I'm pleased with the finish wherever it is. I can't complain. Like I said, I've been on a pretty bad slump so far this year, and it kind of even makes you appreciate the bad days. You know what I mean? The good ones are good, but always just remember just to appreciate every day you get. It's still springtime. I still got to fish, so I'm pleased with it. I have no regrets.
As the anglers head towards the weigh-in to see how they finish, let's take a look at our Mercury moment. Alan Boyd's kicker fish nearly knocked the rod out of his hand right at the boat, but Boyd was able to get the head turned and land a true beauty by staying in the moment.
Come here, come here.
That was a cool bite.
Through all the rain on this final day, nothing has been easy for our top 10. Can Brian Thrift pull out a 6th tour win? The weigh-in starts now.
A 5-bass limit! Wow! Getting it done on Championship Sunday. Man, that's good stuff right there. 5 today! Man, 2 kickers. Wow!
He's from Salem, Indiana. Will you welcome Alan Boyd?
Wow! Getting it done on Championship Sunday. You needed them, and you got them. 18 pounds, 2 ounces. He put a charge into this weigh-in, but you got 2 legends left. You've seen more Championship Sundays than anybody on the tour. There's only one guy that's even close to you, and his name is Brian Thrift. Yeah, you know that guy.
Imagine that.
Solid 5-bass limit on this final day for Dayton, Tennessee's Andy Morgan. 5 that'll go. 14 pounds, 3 ounces, moves you to 4th place.
There we go. That's what we're looking for. We got a game. A pretty good game.
Brian Thrift of Shelby, North Carolina. You need to get to 17 pounds. Number 4, a 5-bass limit for Shelby, North Carolina's Brian Thrift. A stud. Looking for 17 pounds on Championship Sunday for the win. Brian Thrift, 5 today worth. 18 pounds, 10 ounces. Your champion is Brian Thrift. Wow! Getting it done on the final day. Another huge stringer of bass. A champion.
It was a good day today. I knew I needed one more big bite, and then I got it. And of course, as a fisherman, you want one more. You're like, no, that's still not enough. I need one more big one. And it's just a phenomenal week.
$125,000 richer is Shelby, North Carolina's Brian Thrift.